happens in relationships when mental health shows up? When you care deeply about each other, but something internal keeps getting in the way? Welcome to Evolve Your Intimacy with Dr. Stephanie. I'm Dr. Stephanie, licensed professional counselor, certified sex therapist, and clinical sexologist. And this is a special series where we're diving into the real, often misspoken ways mental health disorders impact intimate relationships. Throughout this series, we're going to break down some of the most common mental health challenges like anxiety, depression, ADHD, trauma, and so much more, and explore what they actually look like inside a relationship. This is about understanding what's really happening right beneath the surface so you can stop repeating the same cycle and start building something more intentional. So whether you're struggling or you love someone who is, this series is for you. Stay tuned. Let's be honest. Mental health affects intimacy. Anxiety, stress, overthinking. Sometimes your body is there, but your mind won't let you stay present. That's not just physical, that's neurological. And that's why Shameless Trio is different. Yes, it has sildenafil and tadalafil, but it also includes amorphine because arousal starts in the brain. It's sublingual, so it works faster, and it isn't heavily affected by food. So instead of fighting your body and your mind, you finally have the support of both working together. Go to Shameless Care and use code EVOLVE. That's shamelesscare.com, code EVOLVE, EVOLVE. You will not be disappointed. You send a simple text, and a few minutes later, your partner is worried something is wrong. You try to reassure them, but somehow it never quite sticks. Loving somebody with anxiety can feel confusing, exhausting, and at times deeply emotional for both of you guys. I'm Dr. Stephanie, a licensed professional counselor, certified sex therapist, and clinical sexologist. And in today's episode, we're talking about what anxiety really looks like inside of a relationship, how it shows up and how it impacts both partners, and the difference between supporting your partner and becoming responsible for their anxiety. Because the goal isn't to fix anxiety, it's to understand it, navigate it, and build a relationship that feels safe for both of you. Let's get into it. Before we talk about how anxiety actually affects the relationship, we have to understand what it really feels like from the inside. Because if you've never experienced it, it can be really easy to misunderstand. Anxiety isn't about worrying too much. It's a constant automatic scanning for what could go wrong. It's like your brain is always asking, what am I missing? What's about to happen? Even in moments when things are relatively calm. For someone with anxiety, like myself, your nervous system often feels like it's stuck in overdrive. My body is always on the reacting side of things. It's acting as if there's danger, even when there's not. And that for me can look like a racing heart, tight chest, restlessness, difficulty focusing, or understanding a sense of ease and never fully turning off. In relationships, that internal experience doesn't stay internal. Unfortunately, it starts to shape how we interpret everything. A delayed text doesn't just mean they're busy, it can feel like rejection. A change in tone doesn't just sound different, it can feel like something's wrong. Silence can be loud, distance can be intentional. So what you might see as a small moment, people like me with anxiety, we experience something that's much bigger. There's a constant what-if loop playing in our heads. What if they're upset with me? What if I said something wrong? What if something bad happens to them? What if this relationship doesn't last? And when we sit back logically, we know those thoughts may not come true, but the emotional reaction is still very real. I say this all the time. Emotions override logic. Another important piece is reassurance. When someone with anxiety asks, "Are you okay? Are you mad at me?" They're not usually trying to be difficult. They're trying to regulate an internal feeling that's completely overwhelming. Reassurance only brings temporary relief, but it often doesn't last long, and I mean, that's why the questions just keep coming back again, right? It's that loop. There can be an avoidance, like where we avoid hard conversations, social situations, or anything that might trigger an anxious feeling, not because we don't care, but because the discomfort is so intense. And guys, over time, this can create a lot of pressure in the relationship because one person is trying to manage their internal anxiety and the other one may feel like they're constantly trying to stabilize it. So, if you're the partner of someone with anxiety, it's important to really understand this. It's not that they don't trust you. It's not that they're trying to create problems. And it's not that your relationship is inherently unstable. It's their brain is wired to look for danger, even in safe places. And when you understand that, it really changes how you respond, not with frustration, but more with clarity. Now that we understand what anxiety feels like internally, let's talk about how it shows up in your relationship, because it tends to follow a very specific pattern. And once you can recognize the pattern, the things start to make a lot more sense. So let's talk about the reassurance loop. One of the most common patterns is the reassurance loop. And it might sound something like, "Are you okay? Are you mad at me? Do you still love me?" In that moment, reassurance helps. It does bring relief and it calms our nervous system, but only temporarily. But here's the cycle. The anxiety comes back, and so does the questions. So it becomes ask, reassurance, short-term relief, anxiety returns, ask again. It's this loop that just cycles over and over and over. And over time, it can feel exhausting for both people. The partner giving the reassurance may feel like nothing they say ever sticks, and the person with anxiety may feel stuck needing more and more and more just to feel okay. The reassurance loop is one of the patterns. Another pattern is control and predictability. Anxiety thrives on uncertainty, so naturally there's a strong pull towards control and predictability. And this can look like, wanting clear plans and timelines, asking a lot of follow-up questions, feeling uncomfortable with last-minute changes, needing to know what to expect in advance. Spontaneity, which may feel like fun and exciting to one partner, can feel stressful or even overwhelming to somebody with anxiety. And it's not that they're being rigid, it's about trying to reduce the unknown because the unknown is where our anxiety spirals out of control. Another pattern is the emotional spillover. Anxiety doesn't always show up as worry. Sometimes it spills over into our other emotions, and it can look like irritability and snapping over small things, shutting down or withdrawing, becoming easily overwhelmed during conflicts. That's a huge one for me. And struggling to stay present in conversations. So instead of saying things like, "I feel anxious," it may come across as frustration, pulling away, or some emotional overload. I know for me, it looks like crying. It can look like, snapping very quickly. Very quickly. I'm working on that one. And then just not feeling I can sit still. Like I just, something I have to know, something's there. And if you don't recognize it as anxiety, it's often misinterpreted as an attitude or just rejection or disinterest, but that's not it at all. The impact on the partner, that just doesn't get talked about enough. If you're in a relationship with someone who has anxiety, you may start to feel responsible for their emotional state. You are not responsible for your partner's emotions. Pressure to say or do the right thing. There is no right thing. Drained from constant reassurance or emotional management. You're having to manage your own emotions, and I know that it's just extremely overwhelming to manage your partner's. And it also can feel like you're walking on eggshells to avoid triggering anxiety. Over time, that can lead to frustration, resentment, and even emotional distance. This is why it's so important to remember you can be supportive, but you are not responsible for regulating someone else's anxiety. So, the real question, how does anxiety affect sexy time? This is an important conversation that most people don't even know where to start because anxiety doesn't just stay in the mind, but it shows up in the body. And intimacy is all about being present in your body. So when anxiety is involved, it can really impact some sexual connection in ways that are often, a little bit misunderstood. So if your partner has a difficulty being present, that's because the anxiety pulls attention into future, into the what if spiral thinking. So during intimacy, instead of being in the moment, the mind might be going, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? What do they like this? What if I'm not enough? And this mental noise inside makes it very hard to connect and really enjoy the experience. Then there's the performance anxiety. This can affect anyone, and performance anxiety can affect anybody on this planet. But it affects people with anxiety at a little bit of a higher rate. Worry about pleasing a partner, the fear of not performing well enough, this unrealistic set of standards where you're supposed to meet their expectations, but they haven't been really spoke about. And that pressure can lead to difficulty with arousal. Trouble reaching orgasm, avoidance of sex altogether, and really sex begins to feel like a test instead of a connection. And that's what we really want to avoid. During sexy time, there's tension in the body anyway, because you know what? You're just getting some juices flowing. But anxiety keeps the nervous system activated, which means the body is tense, it's not relaxed. And for most people, arousal requires quite the opposite. It requires you to feel safe, relaxed, and open. So when you have the anxiety during sexy time, it can lead to some tightness or discomfort, difficulty being physically aroused, even feeling disconnected from sensations, like you're not feeling anything. Anxiety can also make your partner completely avoid intimacy. If sex becomes associated with stress, pressure, or just feelings of being overwhelmed, it's really natural to start avoiding it. And this may look like pulling away from physical touch, making excuses, I don't feel good, I have a headache, and even some reduced desire. And it's not because they don't love their partner, it's because their body is linking intimacy with anxiety instead of that safety that we want to create. Yes, the reassurance during or after sex. That's hard. Anxiety can show up as, ooh, was that okay? Did you enjoy that? Are you still attracted to me? And the inevitable, oh, did you come? Did you come yet? Oh, did you come? Stop focusing on the orgasm and focus on the pleasure. Again, this is about seeking emotional safety, but it can interrupt the natural flow of intimacy. And the impact on the partner, you start to feel rejected. Like, are they even attracted to me? Confused. Well, what am I doing wrong? And pressured to perform emotionally and sexually. And without fully understanding anxiety, it's easy to misinterpret what's really happening in the body. So how do we reframe it? We reframe it in a way like, this is the most important piece, people. It's not about the lack of attraction. It's not about the lack of love. It's about the nervous system. The nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to fully let go in those moments. So let's talk about some things that help. Slowing things down, taking pressure off the performance, focusing on connection over outcome. Just focus on the feelings. Open, non-judgmental communication. Creating emotional safety from outside of the bedroom. And encouraging therapy or some individual coping tools. Those are always super helpful, and we're going to talk about some of those here just in a little bit. But first, let me give you a case example. Imagine a couple. Let's call them Alex and Jordan. Alex struggles with anxiety, especially around intimacy, and Jordan is generally more calm and more grounded. At first, things seem manageable. Alex will ask questions like, oh, are we okay? Or are you upset with me? And Jordan often reassures them, of course we're okay. I'm not mad. Everything's fine. And it works temporarily. But over time, the questions start happening more often. And now it's, you seem off. Did I do something? Why did you take so long to respond? Are you sure you still feel the same way about me? And Jordan starts to feel some pressure. They're thinking, I'm answering these questions over and over and over. Why are they still asking? So one day, instead of immediately reassuring, Jordan tries something different. Alex will ask, "Are you mad at me?" And instead of jumping in with, "No, everything's fine," Jordan says, "I can see that you're feeling really anxious right now. Do you want to talk about what's coming up for you?" Okay, now at first, this actually increases Alex's anxiety because, well, that's a question they weren't prepared for. They're not getting that instant relief that they are so accustomed to. But over time, something starts to shift in that. Instead of relying on Jordan to make the feeling go away, Alex starts to recognize, this is my anxiety talking. They begin to sit with the feeling a little bit longer. They start using some coping tools, and the need for constant reassurance slowly decreases. At the same time, Jordan feels less pressure, and they're still supportive, but they're not carrying that responsibility of managing Alex's anxiety. And that's the shift. We can't remove anxiety completely, but changing how both partners respond to it is the key. That's what creates that healthier dynamic. So let's talk about what we can actually do in the moment. Because when anxiety shows up during intimacy, it's not helpful to just understand it. You need tools to kind of bring it back into your body and bring your body back into some connection, right? So if your partner's feeling a little anxiety during sexy time, we need to slow everything down. Anxiety creates urgency. Intimacy needs the opposite. So give yourself permission to slow the pace. Slower touch, slower breathing. Let's focus on what's next. You can even say, "Can we just slow down for a second?" Slowing down really tells your nervous system that you're safe, you're not being rushed, and you don't have to perform. Another tool is ground yourself in your body. So when your mind starts racing, gently bring your attention back to the physical sensations. In this moment, notice your partner's touch. Focus on your breathing. Feel your body against the bed, the couch, or wherever you are. Even tell yourself internally, "Come back to my body." Because anxiety lives in your thoughts, but connection lives in your body, right? Take the pressure off performance. If you're thinking, "Am I doing this right? What if I can't finish?" That's your cue to shift the goal. Instead of performance, let's focus on connection, curiosity, enjoyment, right? Remind yourself that this doesn't have to go anywhere. It can just be here. And then communicate in the moment. You don't have to push through anxiety silently. So some simple grounded communication can sound like, "Hey, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed right now. Can we pause for a second? I just need a moment to kind of reconnect." Healthy intimacy includes space for honesty, not perfection. That's the key. So your partner can be a huge part in creating the safety by not fixing, but by grounding you. And what it might look like is eye contact, slowing down together, holding each other without expectations, breathing together. Sometimes connection is the regulation that you need. And give yourself permission to stop or just to shift to something else. This is very important. You are allowed to pause, change directions, or even stop entirely without guilt, because pushing through anxiety often reinforces it, and listening to your body builds trust inside your body. So if you feel like sometimes you are more anxious, then you need to really start regulating before, not just during, our sexy time. So if anxiety tends to show up for you during intimacy, start before it even begins. That may look like taking a few deep breaths together, having a calming, connected conversation, reducing some external stress. Intimacy starts outside of the bedroom, not inside. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you with one simple but powerful takeaway you can actually practice this week. Next time your partner comes to you with anxiety, especially if they're asking for reassurance, I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself, do you need comfort from me, or is this anxiety asking me to participate in the cycle? Because those are two totally different responses. If your partner needs comfort, you can meet them with empathy and say something like, "I can really see how hard this is for you right now." But if that anxiety loop is showing up, and instead of immediately reassuring, try shifting the response. I hear you. I want to support you, but I also want to help you work through what you're feeling. This is going to feel very uncomfortable at first because no one taught us how to do this. You might even feel like you're not helping, but in reality, you're helping in a deeper, more sustainable way. And if you're the one who struggles with anxiety, your takeaway is this. Notice the urge to seek reassurance and then pause, even for a few seconds. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? What do I actually need? That small moment of awareness is where change begins, because the goal isn't to eliminate the anxiety overnight. It's to respond to it differently together with your partner. And that's how you start building a relationship that feels more grounded, more secure, and more connected over time. If you take nothing else from today's episode, take this. Loving someone with anxiety is not about having all the right answers. It's about understanding what actually happens beneath the surface, and then choosing to respond with intention instead of reaction. If you're the one struggling with anxiety, you're not too much, but your partner is not meant to carry what only you can learn to hold. The healthiest relationships aren't the ones without anxiety. They're the ones where both people take responsibility for how they show up within that relationship and when experiencing anxiety. So this week, pay attention to your patterns, not to judge them, but to understand them, because awareness is what creates change, and change is what creates deeper, more secure intimacy. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me on Evolve Your Intimacy. I'm Dr. Stephanie, and I'll see you for our next episode.